Welcome to the Digital Business Leader Level Up. And this is Majesty AliNICOLE WOW, and here with the awesome King Rob Deptford. And we are going to be doing a virtual lunch and learn for you during this time, and excited about helping you take your digital business to the next level and the importance of being a digital business leader. All right, King Rob, looking forward to our time that we'll be having together here, add value to the business leader community.
Yeah, this is a good idea. Lunch and learn. We used to do these things in person. Remember
Mhm.
that? I guess it's starting again, but
Yes, yes.
but there's certainly demand for this kind of thing in the online space. And hey, it fits the theme, right? With what we're doing in terms of digital uh, tips and tricks, let's call them.
Absolutely, right. Digital tricks and tips and tricks for sure. And there are so many. And the thing about it is that it's important to know and be in the know. You would agree.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's tough to keep up. These things they change so quickly. So it's one of those things that we have to try to stay on top of, and hopefully we can help with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you said the key thing about things changing so quickly, and that's why it is important to be in the know consistently about the different things that are changing, and knowing when to shift in terms of, what tips and tricks are you using, because tips and tricks that you used 3 months ago may not apply to what's emerging for you next. And then something that you used years ago that you're no longer using, you may actually have to go back and revisit that. So maybe we can have
That's for
a
sure.
conversation, around, around that. Yeah, for sure. So let's jump in. We don't have a planned agenda. Our goal here is to obviously empower those during their lunch segments, or that they're having their lunch breaks, to be able to give them some food for thought and consideration. So, what do you think about us talking about people, actually leaders, doing lunch and learns, virtual lunch and learns, and becoming authorities in that area?
I think it's a terrific idea. It's easy to do, right? These days,
Mhm.
we if you got a phone in your pocket, you've got a recording device in your pocket.
That's right.
So, you certainly can't use inconvenience as an excuse for the most part to do something like that. And let's face it, we're in an era where thought leadership matters more than ever.
Mhm.
And so if you are not creating some kind of digital footprint out there where people can learn about who you are, what you do, what you stand for, what are your values, those kinds of things, it's pretty difficult to expect people to want to be a part of your business or your brand experience if you're not
Right.
doing that.
Exactly. That was so epically stated. uh and so true. I mean, that's vital. It's critical, actually. And on the note of that, what better way to sort of break in terms of establishing what you mentioned in your digital footprint? What better way than to actually showcase yourself as someone who can come in and do lunch and learns virtually, and whether you are providing that um, from a Zoom perspective, where you have people who are meeting with you on a Zoom line, or you've marketed yourself in that way to go into different companies virtually and be with them during their lunch hour. What better way to not just break in? I think for anyone who's not doing that, it would be good to actually leverage that and use that to your higher marketing advantage, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's extremely formal. People are going
Yeah,
for lunch for maybe half an hour.
right.
And so you can't squeeze a lot of information into that amount of time anyway, and you
Mhm,
shouldn't because you don't want
mhm.
people to leave with information overload.
That's
So,
right.
cover one, get in and have a discussion on one topic,
Hmm.
or just do an Ask Me Anything session, right? If people already
Absolutely.
know you for a certain area of expertise, then say,
Hmm.
hey, we'll have 30 minutes of Ask Me Anything, and make yourself available for that.
Isn't that perfect? Absolutely. That is so perfect. This, yeah, and like you said, they don't have a long lunch, time frame or so. Most won't have over an hour, so it's 30 minutes to an hour, just depends. But regardless, you said the key thing, you don't want to give too much. It really needs to be more of a food for thought type of session or empowerment. Maybe you come in and you do motivational speaking to a team during that time, right? And like you said, not giving them too much. I mean, they're getting full off of the meal. They don't need to, get full, from what you're sharing. But more so, I think it's a good way to just break in and then give people maybe a call to action. Maybe it's a setup, you introduce something, and then maybe it's something that they go away later and listen to, online.
Yeah, leave them with something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is listen to this next thing, or maybe it's we're leaving you with some inspiration to do something else.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But definitely have a plan to leave people with something so they understand what the value is. And if you can do that consistently, then I think you've got it made. That's how it's done.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So since we've started talking about this, let's kind of break into like a little mini training in a sense, that like 1 to 2 minutes here, where if someone actually really did want to get started with doing this and setting themselves up to market themselves, in this way, is that you can come up with maybe 2 to 3 core themes that you would like to focus on, and focus on maybe having just a 15-minute talk around that. And then, as Rob mentioned, in terms of ask me anything, maybe the last 15 minutes or so could be about if anyone has any questions or so. And then there's the opportunity to then segue them into an offer or an opportunity or a product that you have, on that particular topic. But your thoughts around that, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can format it however you like, but there's
Hmm.
got to be some Q&A at some point, I think.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
that's the engagement piece, right?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can't just go in and kind of spit out all your information and then walk away and leave people
Right.
hanging. You got to give them a chance to ask you or to engage with
Hmm.
you and
Hmm.
have some conversation even amongst, whoever else might be in the crowd or
Hmm.
in the online space with you if it's like a live webinar or something like that.
Right,
There's different
right, right.
formats you can do.
Hmm.
But I think the thing is, whatever format you choose, that when you leave, it's going to be that call to action piece. So
Hmm.
our call to action today with this is really going to
Hmm.
be, hey, you should go try and do your own lunch and learn.
That's
Hey,
right.
leaders, you should try this out.
Hmm.
So think about what yours is going to be. What's the main theme of what you
Hmm.
want your lunch and learn session to be, and then build an appropriate format around that.
Absolutely. Well stated once again. Um, yeah, and it is good to have a variety. And so in terms of exactly what Rob just stated, is you get to customize the format, but also being able to be flexible because different groups may have a different appeal. So as I mentioned earlier, that you can leverage, maybe have 3 different types of these styles that you use. So everything that we stated can be incorporated into that. So as Rob mentioned, in terms of you can have a Q&A session or so. And so that can be one of your formats. Another format could be that you go in to do motivational empowerment speaking for that particular group, of leaders or whomever you're speaking to. So that's another format. Then you can have one where it is a specific topic or focus that you want to key in on, and then you can incorporate some Q&A in there. Of course, you're just going to have to um, formatted around how much time you're working with. So it's good to have different formats. Do one where it is you have only 30 minutes or 20 minutes, and then have one where if they have an hour for lunch or so, maybe that's a 35 to 45 minute type of experience. So Rob, your thoughts about being able to have different varieties, of those to market with?
Well, your biggest constraint is going to be time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you know you've got a 30-minute window or a 45-minute window, the nice thing about having some options is then you can just customize to fit that time frame. So
Right. Hmm.
I mean, we've talked in other segments on other podcasts and things about
Hmm.
speaking to time,
Right. Yeah.
but if you have to cut it to, even if you had to cut it to 15 or 20 minutes,
Hmm.
there are things you can do to not lose people at the end of that. So maybe it is a segue to, hey, if you liked what I had to share here on a high level, I've
Hmm.
got a book on this stuff, right?
Right.
Or I've got some videos on YouTube about this stuff. So people can go and find out more and reach out to you at a later date if they're still curious about more information that you might have to offer.
Absolutely. I tell you, you need to reach out to King Rob Deptford, because isn't he just brilliant in terms of just his delivery? So if you're definitely looking to level up communications wise and business wise, he's definitely your guy to check out for sure, because he has something for everything. All things digital, in a sense, but especially in the leadership aspects. I just want to brag on you just a little bit before we get ready to close out here. Um, Another thing that we do a lot together is obviously in the conversational trainings and being able to be ready. And one thing I can say about Rob that is so excellent is that he is definitely ready to show up and speak and communicate about any and everything. And you want to make sure that within your business leadership authority is that you have a wide range of what you can speak about. Diversity is key in leveraging to be the absolute best, and what makes you stand out in a sense. It sets you apart. So when you want to incorporate doing these lunch and learns and being a virtual authority in that area, definitely make sure that even if someone says, hey, can you come and talk about this, be able to step outside of what is just your traditional range. You want to make sure that you are abreast, of course, on things that are going on and relevant. But if someone throws you an opportunity for something that you aren't really as prepared for as your leading, I guess, expertise, don't be afraid to step into that and do a lunch and learn. And if you're doing it in these short forms, yeah, for 15 minutes or so, you you should be able to talk, right? Your
Yeah, you really
thoughts.
should. And anybody who's ever done any speaking will tell you that, 15 minutes will go by in a flash.
Yes.
An hour can go by in a flash
But if
sometimes.
but
So,
if you're not prepared, it could seem like the longest 15 minutes of watching
well,
paint.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, preparation is key for sure.
It is very key. And on the note, before we close out here, in terms of preparation, um, King Rob and I have several opportunities and offerings through products and publications, different platforms that you can explore, and we'll have that information in the description. And it's important to continue to level yourself up and to make sure that you're being the absolute best version of you as you put yourself out there, in the marketplace. And as today we've been talking about, becoming this virtual lunch and learn authority, so to speak, is that we want you to bring your best, because sometimes you only have 5 minutes to make a difference. And you want to make sure that you can, whether it's 5, 15, 30 minutes or an hour, or you have only 2 minutes to speak, what level of impact can you make on one person or a group of people that could change the game, for them, but also for yourself too. So Rob, before we get ready to wrap up here, your thoughts around that, or anything else you think is relevant to share?
Well, the impact piece is really important because it
Mm,
needs to be the biggest impact needs to be the first thing that you're talking about,
absolutely.
especially if you're short on time. So get the big impact piece out first, and then you
Hmm.
can kind of fill in the details afterwards if depending on how much time you have to do that. But if you get cut short or if you only have a couple of
Hmm.
minutes, then you want to leave people with an impression.
Absolutely. Big impact to big impression, right?
Yeah.
A lasting impression, you definitely want to make sure that you are relevant, rememberable, and remarkable in what you do.
For the right reasons.
For all the right reasons. Otherwise, don't even do it, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise don't even do it. So I think this, is a good way to wrap this, particular segment up, and definitely hope that this has been valuable to individuals, that, what we've provided today is a form of a lunch and learn. You listening during your, your lunch hour, so to speak, or whenever this will be most beneficial, for you. Just food for thought, and take away, what we've talked about, and apply it for sure. So Rob, your thoughts about that? And we can wrap up here.
I think it's a good match for lunch and learn. Food to eat and food for thought.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And I encourage people to give it a try. It's so easy to do. Even if you get a partner and have a conversation like this about something important to your
Mhm.
audience, it's an easy thing to do.
Absolutely. And so doing, on that note, doing joint venture types of virtual lunch and learns is good, where you can, even though, it's two people having to get in, but if it's conversational, then having that conversation that then stimulates others and then gets them to asking some questions. And that's a really good format for what Rob was talking about in terms of doing Q&A sessions. So and also having someone else with you sometimes kind of takes the pressure off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it just helps fill the space.
Mhm.
If you're worried about not having enough to say, conversation makes it easy.
Oh, absolutely. And I can guarantee you, if you get King Rob and I in the space, you better.
Well, we're not worried about not having enough to
Yeah,
say.
we're not never worried about that. It's like, find your way in. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, we're never worried about that. So it's good to be able to do a combination of things. So we've given you some food for thought here, to consider. And again, check the description, because we have plenty of opportunities that you can avail yourself to. And so, King Rob, as always, I love being able to have these conversations, with you, and the level of value that we add when we come together. So I always appreciate you.
Yeah, much appreciated. I hope we help a few people.
Oh, absolutely. I do
Yeah,
too.
we will.
Yes, we will. Absolutely. And so in closing, we just want to wish you the best, and just remember that your digital business leadership impact is vital, and be as diverse as you can to make a difference. Look for opportunities, or create opportunities, to put yourself out there to add the value. The marketplace needs you now more than ever. And again, we have information in the description. You can learn more about us and what we have to offer. And so the call to action is, I want to say, on the note of what King Rob mentioned, is that focus on your big impact, and lead with that big impact, and start to create around that big impact initiative. And we know you have what it takes. And looking forward to having you join us once again. And we'll be back with you soon. Take care and stay blessed.